at the end of the day, the importance is to feel a little bit more in control of yourself. We can't control motherhood. We can't control what's going to happen to our kids. They will have boo-boos. They will be vomiting. They will have bad test grades or whatever, or good test grades. But we can do a lot for them if we take care of ourselves first.
Living a healthy, balanced life is no small feat, especially when you're a mom. With meals to cook, laundry to load, work to do, and humans to raise, it can be easy to feel like we're in an on-again, off-again relationship with healthy living. But it doesn't have to feel this way. I believe living a healthy life has become way too complicated. What we need isn't a new plan or program telling us what to eat or how to live. We need simple, uncomplicated routines and information that's going to help us live our best, most beautiful life without rules and restrictions. Join me, Kristin Dovbniak, holistic health coach, certified intuitive eating counselor, and mama of two, for weekly conversations on what it means to live a healthy, balanced life, uncomplicate eating, and simplify in every area of mom life. Hey friends, welcome back to the Healthy Balanced Mama podcast. Chris here, your host. Have you ever heard of the phrase happy wife, happy life? I know I have when it comes to our husbands, but have you heard the term happy mom, happy kid? I think that is one that is much less talked about because I think oftentimes there are a lot of expectations on moms that once we have kids, we should just be happy because we have kids, especially those of us who have a hard time getting pregnant, who have difficult pregnancies, who have difficult postpartums. We're just told, just be happy that you have a healthy kid, which is great and awesome. But the health and happiness of us as moms and how we take care of ourselves is really important to how well we are able to take care of our kids, which is why I am so excited for today's guest. Today's guest is Zelmira Crespi. She is a writer and a mother of 5. She's worked in journalism. She's a copywriter and communications and marketing expert. And she now works as a freelance content producer and investigative journalist, mostly in the areas of psychology and life. So why is she here on the podcast? She is also the co-author of the brand new book, Happy Mom, Happy Kid, with her friend Maria Luisa Mont. Maria is a digital entrepreneur and a mom of 4. She previously worked as a child psychologist in Chile, her home country. After moving to the US and being unable to validate her studies in psychology for lack of time as a mom, she slowly built a business through dropshipping, then Amazon, then Shopify from the comfort of her own home while caring for her kids. They both live in Key Biscayne with their husbands and their kids, and they became friends and started to have a conversation about how important it is that we take care of ourselves as moms and that we have passions as moms outside of having our kids, and how we are able to reconcile this desire to be ourselves, to be our unique selves, and also be a great mom to our kids. And what they discovered is that through some studies that they've done and through their research, that happy moms lead to happy kids. And so in this episode, Zelmi and I talk about her story. She talks about her rough start to motherhood, feeling really overwhelmed, meeting Maria and feeling like Maria had it kind of all together, and really coming together and discovering the importance of becoming a happy mom and what that really means. We had a really awesome, really candid conversation today. We had so much fun chatting. At some point, I just threw out the questions and we really just had a great conversation. So I know you guys are all going to love this. You're going to want to run out and grab their book. So without further ado, here's my conversation with Zelmi. Welcome, Zelmi. I am so excited to have you on the Healthy Balanced Mama podcast today.
Hi, Kristin. How are you?
I am good. I know that we are going to have such a good conversation today. I can't wait to ask you all of the questions we have prepared and to talk to you about your book that just came out. But I love to start every interview with a fun little icebreaker. And most of my listeners know that this is my favorite thing to ask authors too, because you're an author yourself. You've spent a lot of time writing a book, but do you spend any time reading books? What have you been reading lately?
I've actually been reading the book by Zibby Owens, Moms Don't Have Time To, a quarantine anthology. And we had an interview with Zibby not long ago, and I was telling her, you just reconnected me with the essay. I didn't know I
Mm.
missed it so much. From starting from middle school, when they start to ask you, like, do the 5-paragraph essay and do the intro and the 3 strong paragraphs and the conclusions. And it just brought like back so many memories of so many essays that I've written. And it's just a great form of writing that I just love. So yes. And the selected essays from her anthologies are amazing. They're great. So I totally recommend them.
I love that. I love essay writing. I love stories. I feel like I connect so much more deeply with stories.
Absolutely.
And I think, that's actually a really good segue to what we're going to talk about today. Because I think, your story and your experiences are one of the main reasons why you wrote your book and kind of the conversation that we're going to have today and your passion. So for my listeners who might not know you yet, can you just share a little bit more about yourself?
Okay, so the book was written by 2 people, myself and Maria Luisa Montt. We're both from Latin America. She's from Chile and I'm from Uruguay. She never lived outside of Chile until she moved here to Miami in 2010. And so did I. I moved in 2010 here to Miami. But with the difference that I've always lived abroad because my dad worked for the UN. That's why I have this English. And we lived in various places, and I lived in Connecticut, and that's when I became an American. And so we got together. She's a child psychologist, but she wasn't able to validate her studies here because she landed with a very small baby and another one on the way. So to validate her studies, she basically had to do a lot of work and kind of do college all over again. And as a mom, that was a little bit hard at that moment. So she decided to dabble into online entrepreneurship, and she started with drop shipping and then Amazon. And then she started Shopify, and she started to actually teach her friends and us, and me included at one point, how to do stuff on Amazon, on online, just kind of have something like a side hustle that you could call your own. And then I came here. I was able to work as a communication specialist at an airline, and everything was fine. But then my firstborn was born with Down syndrome and a heart surgery. So we decided that maybe should stay home and kind of take care of her for the first couple of years. And then since we decided that we always wanted like various children, I wanted 4, he wanted 3. I was like, now that I stepped out of the corporate world for a while, let's just have all the kids together. I think it's a good thing to have kids close together. It's my opinion, just because my siblings were so far away from me in years that I was like, I wanted my kids to have automatic play dates in their own home. So I decided to just kind of stay home, but I started to miss my professional life. And I had one baby, and then I had another. Well, now I have 5. And I am so happy. And I have from 8 to 6 months of age. Maria has 4, from 11 to 4. And we really are like trying to help moms understand that it's not about how many kids you have. It's not about being a mom. It's about you and the connection that you have with yourself and what you really need, and what not forgetting what your passion is, or not forgetting what really moves you. That's gonna keep you motivated and in your best self. And since we do have so many kids, we have 9 between both of us. We're kind of experts by experience. We're not doctors. We're not scientists, but we did do our best effort to gather as much info as we could to kind of answer our own questions, and the questions that we heard a lot of moms around us that had about what happens, like why is it so hard to make decisions as a mom all of a sudden? Why is everything so sticky? Why can't I just go back to work? Why can't I feel good now that I went back to work? What is this about mom shame and mom guilt? What is this entire movement that we go through? And it was basically a project that was a combination of my 2020 goal. I decided I was going to write a book, my first book. It was a goal that I had for so many years, and I just kept on putting it on the back burner because I had my corporate life, and then because I was a mom, and because I was pregnant, and then pregnant again, and trying on Amazon and whatever. And it was like, stop it. like, you love to write, you really want to write. I kept on doing copywriting and just kind of stealing writing moments into my life, but not really doing it. And then I run into Maria one day that we've been friends for years. And it's just been this ongoing conversation that we kept on having. What happened? Why is it so hard to do this? And why is it so hard to get your job done or whatever? And Maria was so successful. I kept on asking her, like, but how are you managing like the 4 kids and the online business? And she started doing online courses to teach other moms to sell online, all in Spanish. And she was like, I don't know. I just find the time. And it's like, well, why? Like, why? What happened to you? And what happened to me? Like, what is this? There's something here. And she was like, you know what? I've always wanted to write a book. And she's like, and like, you're gonna laugh, but the name is, I've known for 5 years, I wanted to write a book called Happy Mom, Happy Kid. And I was like, that's so funny. Because the other day I was talking to my husband that I want to write a book this year. And he was like, you should write a book about your international life. And I was like, I want to write a book about motherhood, because I really want to like dive into the information that's going to give me peace. And he's like, no, I think you're going to sell better. It's going to be much more successful if you write about your international life, because everybody's moving around so much and whatever. I was like, okay, yeah, it could be. And then obviously a guy's going to say that. And then I walk into my friend and she's like, why don't we just write a book together? I was like, yes, that's awesome. And that's how it started. And that's when we decided that Happy Mom, Happy Kid had to happen, basically.
I love that. What a cool story. Everything from both of your journeys to coming together and going, oh my gosh, we have kind of the same mission, that we both want to write this book. We want to help other moms. You have so much experience with 9 kids between the two of you. I have 2 kiddos and it's a lot to manage. And I'm also a work from home mom, most of the time in the home, but I teach cooking classes. Sometimes it's outside of the home too. And then of course the podcast. So I can 100% relate to trying to manage all of the things and wanting to be a good mom and wanting to be a good wife and really trying to find that balance, hence the Healthy Balanced Mama podcast. And really this
Absolutely.
podcast I've talked about quite a bit really started from my passion of finding balance with food and movement and kind of the health side of things. And over the last 3 years has really evolved into balance in every area, as I've heard from my listeners and I've experienced myself how much balance is so much more than just what we eat and how we move. And it's important to find balance in that, but it really is about that holistic balance in our lives as a whole and taking care of ourselves as a whole that really makes for that balanced life. And so that was when I first discovered you. And I was like, oh yes, I would love to have you come on and share your story and share your book, because I think it is so important. So something that you talk about even in your introduction is that we've all heard the phrase happy wife, happy life. I think many of us have heard that, when referring to our husbands. But you guys are on this mission to shift that motto for moms into what you just shared, the name of your book, Happy Mom, Happy Kid. So where did this come from, kind of beyond this idea that Maria Luisa had about, this kind of being the name of the book? What does it mean to you? What does Happy Mom, Happy Kid really mean to you? And kind of how did you take that as, I guess, a jumping off point for where you took your book?
Well, the reason was that Maria had her reason. She shared it when we were brainstorming the book. She's like, she worked as a child psychologist for maybe 1-2 years, and then she had to move to Miami, and she couldn't continue. But she did find that in many cases, when a mother would come and bring their child to have, oh, this kid has this problem or this kid has that other problem, if she would take a second to sit down and talk with the mom, she would usually find that the mom was struggling with something, and that something was always kind of in the same ballpark as what was going on with the kid. Or maybe just one of the symptoms of what was going on. So if the mom was really, really not relaxed and she was having a lot of stress, and the kid was suffering from a little bit of anxiety, and she was like, well, how are we doing at home? The question would come up. And she just started to find that little pattern, and she found that pretty interesting. Then she became a mom herself, and she did realize the importance of keeping her head balanced and her sanity afloat by keeping up with something. And that's when she started dabbling with the online business. And I myself, since I did have a little bit of a rough start with Josefina, with her Down syndrome, and then the operation, the heart surgery, and everything, and then I had to like dive into the whole therapy world and understand how that worked and everything. I really, really, really like threw myself 100% into motherhood, but stepping out of a 9 to 5 job at an office. So the switch was like so extreme and so such a different world. And then I was just like going in and out of hospitals and therapies and stuff. And I kept on plummeting through, basically. I had my second child, and then one day I go to Maria and I was like, I don't know where I've gone. Like I don't know who I am anymore. And I feel like I've lost myself. I feel like I don't really know what to do, but something is off, something is not working. I don't feel the way I thought I was going to feel. And that's when we started talking about the importance of you feeling so much better than what you would have expected. I mean, it doesn't come naturally. It's not that you become a mom and then you just naturally become a happy mom because you have a kid. No, it's actually something that you have to work on, and you have to keep an eye out. And how do you do that is trying to keep a balanced effort of yourself in different areas of your life. And I mean, it sounds so cliche. I don't want to overuse the word balanced as, oh, we have to find balance and we have to be balanced. And everybody keeps on talking about it. And I know that it generates a lot of stress to a lot of people if you don't explain what we're talking about. Obviously, you know what I'm talking about. That's why you have so many episodes, because I mean, you can't just say balance and then stay shut up. You have to keep on, you have to explain what you're talking about. And it's just, it's the book. The idea was we wanted to not stress moms out more than they already are, because we obviously are writing to moms that feel that something is off and that something is not okay, or that just need somebody to feel that somebody has their back in certain emotions that they don't really are comfortable having. We want them to feel permission to feel whatever they're feeling, and let them know that does not give them an evaluation of if they're a good or bad mom. We want them to know that we've all gone through this. That's when the word matressence comes in, Matressence. And then we want them to understand that there is a huge importance in the, again, cliche example of put your mask on first and then put the mask on the child that they tell you at the airplane. Because we are taking care of very little people, and maybe not so little for some people anymore. And we do have a certain responsibility towards them to be responsible with ourselves. And that's kind of where the whole happy mom, happy kid comes from. It's just if you are taking care of yourself in all of your areas, we assure you that you're going to be in a much better headspace to not only be obviously a good mom to your kid, in the sense that you're going to be more happy or more emotionally available, or with more patience, but you're also going to have a much keener sense of being able to watch out where your kid is struggling, or where he really needs you and where he doesn't. Because that is, for me and for Maria, the key of being a good parent. It's where is the fine line between helping your kid and kind of damaging his independence. It's you have to kind of be there, but kind of like know when to pull back. And if you're not really in your best headspace, you're probably going to go way too much in, or you're just going to go way too much out. And we've gone through all of the states of motherhood. We both had really good days, really good bad days. We have good births, bad births. We've had good postpartums, bad postpartums. We, like, between the both of us, we've had like all the whole rainbow of experiences. And the book really wants to tell the reader, you know what, it's okay. I mean, like this happens and that happens, and we were shocked with this as well, and we were not informed that this was going to be like this either. But at the end of the day, we're fine, and we're going to be okay, and you can do it. And here is a very strong, but soft, available option of taking care of yourself in the most stress-free way that we could think of. And that's when we offered we talk about the different areas that you have to take care of, and how and why is kind of what we tried. And then in every chapter, if you've seen, we give a little personal experience of each, just to kind of give you we're kind of all in the same boat.
Oh my gosh. I love that so much. And it was a little bit of a gut check for me when you're like, we have a responsibility to our kids because we have a responsibility to, or we have a responsibility for ourselves for our kids, right? That taking care of ourselves is part of the responsibility we have to take care of our kids. I think that is so important. And you're right that we do oftentimes hear, put your oxygen mask on first. But what does that mean practically? What does that mean when we're going through those really hard seasons with our kids, whether it's we're going through a tough pregnancy, or we're going through, especially when we have other kids, or we're going through a tough postpartum, or our kids have special needs, or our kids are going through something with school. We have that responsibility towards them and we want to take care of them. But what about, how are we taking care of ourselves to best take care of them? I heard something on social media the other day that I think it really plays well into what we're talking about today, and it hit me really hard. And it was this idea that oftentimes we are told that our goal is that our kids have a really good future, and he was talking about how important it is that our kids have a happy childhood. And that we are focusing on the now, right? And taking care of ourselves and taking care of our kids now so that they have a happy past. So yes, we're
Yes.
obviously we want them to have a happy future and a good future. And we want to
Yes.
help them work towards that. But we also want them to look back and to be like, I had a happy childhood. I had a good childhood.
It's the concept of just basically building a really good base for their entire lives. It makes total sense what you're saying. It's about that, and I think it does influence how your mom was feeling during your childhood, and how, I mean, if we all know, I mean, I do remember my mom being a little bit more stressed when my sister went to college, for example, and she was maybe not so emotionally available for me, but then she was like so emotionally available for me when I was like so much younger, and I was the youngest of four. And I was like really creative, and I used to like to write poems and write and whatever. And I was just like, I remember her attention there and just kind of like smiling at me. And it does eventually come back to you as an adult. Like when you don't feel your best self, just knowing that your mom was there, I mean, it does kind of change your experiences. And obviously, there are a lot of experience of people that can say that they didn't have the best experience with their moms, and it does affect you in a way. So it's good. It's good to have it on the radar at least.
Yeah, absolutely. So there was something that you mentioned, a word that you mentioned that you talk about in your book, and I'm probably going to butcher it, but can you explain this idea of matrescence and what it is and why it isn't talked about more?
I loved the second that I found the word matressence. I was doing a bunch of research for the book. Basically, the book is a very huge investigation, a journalistic investigation project. We started out with a couple of questions and then a couple of hypotheses, and then we just started working and trying to find it in psychology and trying to find it in literature, trying to find it everywhere. And in one of my researches, I actually found an article by Dr. Alexandra Sachs. She's a reproductive psychiatrist in New York, and she actually gave a TED talk, which is great, about how she started noticing that she started to receive a lot of moms that were sure they had postpartum depression. And she started talking to them and kind of dabbling with them, and she started realizing that no, you don't have postpartum depression. You had so many expectations of what motherhood was going to be like, and you're just not feeling what you thought you were supposed to feel. But it's obviously, postpartum depression is something that happens. 1 out of 7 women do have it, and it's a very serious issue. I've had my out of the 5, I've had a couple of rough postpartums, but the word matrescence, which is fabulous, basically was the biggest aha moment that we had when we were writing the book, because it says that like adolescence, matrescence is what the mother goes through as an adolescence, which is a direct impact to their hormones, their brain and their body. Teenagers go through this, and everybody's like, oh, well, he's being a teenager. Like, yeah, he's kind of all over the place, and everybody kind of like lets teenagers kind of be. But mothers, not so much. It's like, okay, you should be super happy. You have a baby. It's healthy. Everything's fine. Or no, but I mean, you're fine. When are you going to bounce back? When are you going to have your second baby or your third or whatever? I mean, like there's so much pressure for you to just be okay and be happy. And there's so many expectations of what a mother should be feeling. And like coming out of 5 pregnancies and Maria out of 4, it's like you don't really feel that great in certain moments. And what is it? And you go to the hospital and you have your baby and you check off well, obviously I don't want to harm the baby. Obviously I don't want to harm myself. I mean, no, I mean, this isn't postpartum depression, but then nobody else really kind of asks you, like, how do you feel? And maybe your most easy answer is, well, I'm not feeling great because I didn't sleep very well. But sometimes there are more deeper issues that come with it. And if you had a very hard pregnancy experience, such as myself, which I vomit like an exorcism situation, like all my pregnancies were absolutely puked. And then, or if you had a really long delivery, like I had with my first, I mean, there's a whole like physical recuperation situation that just like, it's not a happy moment for anybody. No matter how happy you are to have the baby, you're still going through a lot. But there's like not so much space for that. So yeah, and the best fact about Matressence is that everybody, 100% of women go through it when they walk into motherhood. So what does this mean? Obviously, women do vary in the way that this movement affects them. It depends obviously on their personality, their history, their age, their like millions of small details. But I think it's a really, really good and valid point to take into account that if you felt something that you shouldn't feel, hey, look, there's a word for it. It's matrescence. You had this huge movement. It's okay. Don't worry. Take care of yourself. Go check up. Well, if you want, read up on it. If you want, go to a professional. Therapy is the best thing you could do. Do whatever you need to do to feel okay with yourself, because it's not easy, because look at all the movement that has been going on. And you're not a teenager anymore. You were kind of doing your life. You were having your career. You were married to the guy you wanted to marry. You had control over so many things. And then, as we say in the book, the Rubik cube of life starts moving, and you're like, okay, let me grab this again to feel that I can continue to do this. But then something moves out of the way so that you can grab that, and then you can grab the second block, and everything shifts, and you start to feel like you don't have any more control, but you do. It's just that your focus has changed, and that's it. And to answer your question of why we haven't heard so much about it, I don't know. I have my conspiracy theories, really. I think what I did read up a little bit on the terms of psychology is that when it comes to moms in the history of psychology and basically the world, everybody, I mean, we obviously needed women to keep reproducing and having babies, and I do feel that it was like kind of like, well, that's just motherhood. That's basically what it should be like. Don't complain. That's your job. That's the biggest thing that's expected for you. Like for the, like 40 years back, I mean, you didn't really expect too much out of a mom. If she was a woman and then she became a mom and she had kids, that was it. I mean, applause, that was it. That's that you lived your life. And I do feel that the 1970s, which is when an anthropologist actually came up with that word, that they were like, this is something that's happening. Like, women go through a lot of movement in a lot of ways. I think the 1970s, that was pretty late for my taste. I mean, why are we talking about this in the 70s? But yeah, I mean, it's like my friend says, if guys had to be pregnant and they would puke 7 times a day, it would, obviously there would be a pill for that already. I think Amy Schumer talked about it too. But yeah, it's something that we really have to talk about. We have to put out on the table, and it's not about not wanting to be a mother or not liking motherhood. It's like, don't cheapen it. So like, don't go there. It's about really understanding what you just went through or what you're going to go through, so that once you go through it, you understand the challenge that you went through. I mean, and you permit yourself to like, I'm tired, or I need to recover, or I need help. Or maybe I don't want to go back to work, or maybe I do need to go back to work. It's just like all those things that just kind of pop up. And I'm just blabbing on, sorry, but I just remembered the other day I was at a dinner party, and the Chicago Marathon just happened.
Yeah.
And I was at a dinner party, and I was talking to this lady, and she had 2 kids, and she had just ran the marathon. And we were talking with her husband and my husband, and she's like, yes, I did it in 3 hours and, I don't know, 10 minutes. I was like, my husband was like, oh my God, that's like super fast. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. It's just great. And though she's like, so what do you do? She's like, she worked for MasterCard or whatever. And I was like, well, I'm a stay-at-home mom, but I've always tried to get back to work. I actually worked in an airline, and then now eventually I finally wrote my first book. I'm really happy with that. And she's like, oh my gosh, like I used to work at that airline, and my husband too. Do you remember such and such? And I was like, no. Do you remember that guy? Oh God, no. And she's like, you know what? And I just stopped her and was like, I've had 5 kids in 8 years. I have a lot of mental like blanks. I don't remember. It's just like, you're talking about 8 to 9 years ago. I really think that was like another person that was living that life. And I felt kind of stupid. I felt kind of like, oh my God, like everybody's talking about their professional life. And I'm just like, no, I just had so many babies. I'm sorry. And then I went to sleep, and I was talking to my husband, and my husband's like, well, I mean, maybe you didn't run a marathon in 3 hours, but you did have 5 kids in 8 years. And that to me is like a huge physical effort that you did.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Not to say emotional. So I would kind of pat myself on the back if I were you. Like, let's look at the actual win here. It was like, you know what? That's right. I mean, it's been the longest marathon in the world, I think. But I mean, I really like doubled down and did as much as I could, because physically it was absolutely horrible to go through it. Thank God I have a good body, but geez. So yes, Matressence really has been kind of like the Band-Aid I was needing to my healing process of, Jesus, tell me what happened. Like, why can't you have a job? And why can't you just pop into the office again? And why can't you just write so much like you used to? It's like, you know what? I just went through a lot. It's been a roller coaster, and let's just see how I can organize myself to when I feel better. And every day postpartum, I feel much better. My baby's now 6 months. And it's just like every time I feel like, oh my God, I got more brain cells back. That's awesome. Just like, and every day is a new day, and it's a new win.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, you shocked me even when you said, "Oh, my kids are from, ages 8 to ages 6 months." And I'm like, "You're on a podcast call right now and you have a 6-month-old?" You are a superhero. Moms are superheroes. And this concept makes so much sense to me. When I heard it, I was like, I literally my mouth was like gaping open. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this makes so much sense." And it really isn't talked about, the fact that we are kind of expected just to go from whatever stage of life we are in. Oftentimes for many of us, it's, either we're, we've been married for, it could be a couple months, could be a couple years, or we have, a partner, and we're maybe we have a career, we're just living our life, to, like you said, going into motherhood, which is a massive change. There's so many changes happening, changes within our bodies, changes within our families. Sometimes there are things like moves happening too. So
Yes.
many things, so much movement, like you said, happening. of course it's going to be this huge identity shift, this,
Yes.
physical change, this mental, emotional change. And I think you're so right that I don't think it's recognized unless it's that point of despair, like that point of, which is
Yes.
true and valid. And, we should all make sure that we are getting help in whatever stage that we are in, especially if we're at that point of, that postpartum depression or anxiety or being in that place of, desperation. But we don't necessarily need to be in that place of desperation to recognize that we have gone through this big change and it might be hard and we can get help through that. And so, oh my
Yes.
gosh, so powerful. And I think that I know that there's going to be so many moms listening who have the same aha moment as you did and as I did, going, oh my gosh, yes, this is a big change. Why are we not talking about this? And it is, I think it is that, not even just decades, but centuries long, I guess, expectation of moms to just go from who we were to now this mother. And there's a lot that we have to go through to kind of shift that identity. So I'm wondering, within the research that you've done and within what you talk about in your book, how do we start to begin this sort of reclaiming of ourselves, this new version of ourselves, this new identity as ourselves, but also ourselves as a mom, without feeling like, our old self is totally gone? I know that you said that there's sometimes so many gaps in those early years of motherhood because we're like just kind of trying to survive. And there's sometimes that point where we get to where we're like, wait, who was she? So how do we start to reclaim this kind of new version of ourselves?
Well, I think that motherhood does really give you an awesome and new opportunity to come out into the world and say, okay, what do I really want? Because you do now have a huge, massive change in your life, which is the person that you have to take care of right now. And you have to, obviously, you have to be a little bit more effective with your scheduling in. But I think the first step is, as we talk in the book, like how do you get yourself from being number two to back to number one? Obviously, the reason that we kind of do step back into our self-care and maybe that eventually affects our self-love. The reason is that this new being just obviously it produces such a massive explosion of love and adoration for this huge, cute little being that is now in your life. And it's obviously natural that you focus so much on that baby and its needs. It's actually natural, and it's something chemical as well, with the hormone combination of the baby and yours. But we do have to realize that eventually, like Winnicott, the psychologist, talks about, we do have to eventually start to understand and have peace with the fact that we're going to be able to satisfy the kids' needs up to a certain point. And then we're supposed to start to fail in helping them out with everything. And that's where the independent person starts popping up. And he talks about the good enough mother as something that is a requisite for an independent child. If you're 100% like stock full, all your poker chips are put on being the best mother and 100% mother and completely present mother over that kid, the kid's not gonna come out as independent or as strong as you wanted to, because he's going to feel that he has to live certain things for you or because of you. And you're going to measure your life according to if the kid makes a mistake or not. And that's a very hard territory to be walking in. So in order to reclaim, we did the Happy Mom study. We wanted to know where the answer was on what we really need as moms. We don't go back into how to live Matressence a little bit better. How can we avoid Matressence? No, Matressence happens and it's a natural part of the process. Let's like that. We have to leave that be. That's perfect. You can be a little bit more prepared to live Matressence, obviously, if you're informed about it. That's completely. Or like I had, like once I understood what was going on, I had all of my ammunition ready. I had my lactation consultant on speed dial. I had a therapist on speed dial. I had 2-3 friends on speed dial. Like I knew like what I needed. Obviously I learned this by pregnancy number 3, not with 1 and 2. But if to get back to you, what we want, because we don't want to be a how-to book. We don't want to stress you out. We don't want you to feel that you're doing something wrong. We want you to like do exactly what you're doing, but start paying attention to your week to see if you're feeling that you're being able to dabble in certain areas of your life. And so we did the Happy Mom study, which we took up 600 or so women, and we asked them, like, what makes you feel more satisfied? Like, where do you really feel satisfaction? Because that, at the end of the day, is the answer. We need you to get into the best headspace and feel satisfied with yourself first, to then start working on whatever area you need to work on if you really need to. Maybe you don't. But it's the book, and the idea is to kind of push you and tell you, look, you can be in a better headspace. Like, let's put you in a better headspace now. And then if you want to open your wings and fly a little bit higher, there's all of these places you can go and find information or books or podcasts like yours, like everything. So the Happy Mom study with these 600 ladies, we asked them, like obviously 80% were moms, and we just they answered a couple the questions about the self-satisfaction. We put in a lot of positive psychology. We actually studied other studies before you actually start to do. Once you do your study, you have to be able to know what studies have been done on the subject, because it's like, so you don't repeat studies, obviously. We kind of built our own study, and then we got 100 of these 600 ladies, and we did a follow-up for a month. And each week we would ask them, could you please check this box of if you were able to take care of your healthy diet, or your spouse or partner, or your spirituality practice, like just kind of check once a week. And the cool thing about the study was that since we didn't want to stress anybody out, the conclusion was that to really feel satisfied, us women and moms, to feel satisfied about ourselves, we don't need much more than 1 check in each area per week to feel okay with ourselves, because that's all we need right now. We're starting small. We're taking baby steps. So imagine if you start by eating a healthy lunch once a week, you check off the box, or you start doing something outside of your home. Doesn't have to be work that you get paid for, but maybe you take up a project that really interests you, that has nothing to do with your kids, or that it's not going to be evaluated by your kids or by your husband or by your spouse or whatever. It's going to be yours, and you're going to be able to have it somewhere else, and other people are going to see it, or you're just going to see it. I don't care if it's writing. I don't care if it's getting a new job, whatever, but something that just makes you use all of your potential in a different way. So if you can just check that box, because it could be literally just taking an online course for 10 minutes once a week, signing up for masterclass, and just listening to a course of something that makes you feel more like your brain cells are moving in a different way. And the good thing about the Happy Mom study is that we realized that we just need 1 check, like 1 check per week. So imagine if you start checking it more. That would be awesome. So it's just, we don't need that much to really feel good about ourselves, because then you're going to be able to really say, okay, you know what? I really want to work again, or I really want to start yoga, or really want to work out, or I'm not happy with my body, or I am happy with my body, but I want to eat more healthy. Okay, but we want to just start the wheel just to turn. We just want to start moving you towards the actual project of whatever you wanted to do.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I feel like this is revolutionary. I'm like, just one check. There's
That's it.
so much pressure in this like self-care mom world to
Yes.
do all of the things. And, whenever I talk to women, I always encourage them. It really is about those small steps. But I think even taking it back to going, it's not just about small steps each day, it's small steps each week. Let's check one box this week and help to improve ourselves, improve the way we feel about ourselves, just one small step at a time. And then we can kind of build from there. I think that's so
Yes.
huge. Oh
And
my
we have
gosh.
in our book, we have the checklist. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not a complex quiz that you have to really think about. It's the easiest thing in the world, but it's just, if you finish your week and just look at what boxes you checked, and then you're going to see, you know what, I would like to check this box once more, or maybe I wasn't able to check this box, and you just know what you're going to do next week. And that's just going to start making you feel better about yourself. You're going to be able to move yourself around your different areas of your life, your friends, your social life. Women, we need our crew. We need our tribe. That's not a mystery. Connect with other moms. If you feel lonely, like motherhood can be very isolating, especially in the US. It used to be so much easier, like before, that everybody used to grow up with their grandparents and their uncles, and now everybody's working from a different state or from a different country, and we've lost that tribe. And so it is really, again, it's a responsibility for us moms to really know that we can't do this alone, and we shouldn't, and we weren't built to do it alone. So reach out to that mom at the park, or reach out to that mom at your kids' class, and just go get some coffee and start bonding, because, I mean, you don't have to do this alone at all.
Yeah, such an important point, because I know I've talked on the podcast before about my first daughter, who's she'll be 8 in a couple weeks now, but we lived in Toronto. My husband's Canadian, and so we lived up there for about 5 years. And I didn't have any. I'm from the U.S., so I didn't have any family up there. He had family up there, but they were several hours away. And so when I had her for the first 6 months before I moved back to the US, and then he moved back with us, I didn't have any family around. I didn't really have a lot of friends. I had my daughter really young. And so any of the friends I had there were not in kid mode at all. And I didn't really know what to do with myself for those first 6 months. And it was a little overwhelming after
Yes.
my mom left, after those first couple of weeks, going, oh my gosh, just me and this tiny baby. And my only job right now is to keep this baby alive, and there's no one else around. And so I remember I shared this in another podcast interview, but I remember going to the local library and having her in like the baby carrier and seeing the story time and just kind of like hanging out in the back and just feeling like, well, at least I'm with other moms.
Yes.
And it wasn't until I came to the US, and she was about 9 months old. So several months after that, obviously. And I joined like a mom fitness program, and they would do like outside
That's
workouts.
awesome.
And then they would have time after for the kids to play. And even though she was still really young, we'd kind of let her crawl around with the other babies. And I started meeting other moms, and then eventually started joining a mom's group. And it really was like life-changing to my motherhood.
Absolutely.
And we hear about that. We hear how important it is to like find your tribe. But I think until we really get into that point with motherhood where we're like, oh my gosh, I don't really have anyone around.
Yes.
Sometimes it's like, okay, I need to find someone. And I think it can be really intimidating at first. And that's why things like groups, whether it's an online group to start or, an in-person group, there are so many free groups in every city. I think just looking for one and maybe trying to couple out to find your tribe, I think is really important. It really does make a big difference in motherhood. So.
Yes. And especially like first time moms, that they are, read our book. First time moms have to read our book.
Yes.
Because there's nothing like the worst feeling that it's just happening to you. Like, I'm the only one feeling this. I'm the only one going through this. I'm the only one having trouble with that. And it's just like, no, just read the book. Don't worry. And like, once you read the book, you can go and talk about the book. Let the book be an excuse to get a new friend at the park. Because it's you're not alone. I mean, everybody's gone through this and at different levels. And the good thing about our book is that since we did co-write it, it was just like Maria's experience of motherhood is so different from mine. I just kept on feeling like I was like a gerbil, like constantly like running and slipping and falling and slipping and falling. And she was kind of like, maybe because of her psychology background, or maybe because of just the way she was. She was like, no, 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 I don't, I need to do this, like to try to get out of this, like this rut that I feel right now, what I'm going to do. And she's like, she was much more clearer in her way. Obviously I had the bumpy start, but it was just, she directly went into, I'm going to do something from home, and it's going to match my motherhood lifestyle. And I was like, I was like a headless chicken running around nonstop, and there was no way I could find an answer. And it was pretty frustrating, but I started talking and talking and talking with moms at the park. And I started realizing that, yeah, I mean, it's something that everybody goes through. And there is something, like we talk about the book, it has a lot to do with your identity, because Matressence does affect your identity, and motherhood affects your identity, and it kind of moves you around. And then you do come out, it's not that you come out with a new identity, you just have to recalibrate. I found that word the other day in an interview. You have to like recalibrate your identity. It's like, okay, we're going to change this and that, but it's not, you're still you, but you do have to recalibrate everything a little bit more, so that you're a little bit more in control. That's we kind of, at the end of the day, the importance is to feel a little bit more in control of yourself. We can't control motherhood. We can't control what's going to happen to our kids. They will have boo-boos. They will be vomiting. They will have bad test grades or whatever, or good test grades. But we can do a lot for them if we take care of ourselves first.
Oh my gosh, 100%. And, I have a very interesting kind of journey of my own with motherhood, where we always know what we're going to do before we have kids, right? We're all the perfect moms until we have kids.
Absolutely.
We have this idea of the mom that we're going to be. And I know my husband had a conversation. So he's most of my listeners who have been listeners for a while know that he's a professional racing sailor. And so he goes away often, especially in the summertime. So he has kind of a crazy job. And so we had kind of talked before having my daughter that, I would kind of take I was working, I had my own business prior to having her. I was a personal chef, and I knew that wasn't something I was going to be doing kind of once she was born. But we kind of talked about me just being a mom for a few years, and that just being my main job and my main role. And I think it was maybe she was like 4 months old or so. And I very, very quickly came to the realization that I didn't feel like myself anymore. And I loved being a mom, but I really wanted something else outside of motherhood too. And that was it was a tough conversation to have, and we had made this decision where it's like, no, you're just going to be a stay-at-home mom for a few years as he's building his career. And then eventually maybe I'll go back and do something else. Wasn't sure what it was going to be, but it was just a few months in, and I was like, Nick, I need something else. I want to start something else, even if it's just from home, just a little something. And, I dabbled in a couple things there. I got another health coaching certification because I needed like a fifth at that point. And so I started slowly figuring out how I could bring the part of me that loves entrepreneurship, the part of me that loves helping people, and also have and be a mom too, and be a good mom to her. And it's been at this point, it's been an 8-year journey to figuring out what that looks like and what that balance looks like. And it changes in every season. Now I have 2 kids, and that change, and it's literally changed in every season. It's been this ongoing conversation, but it's becoming easier and easier owning that these are both parts of me, and that's okay. Absolutely. And it's okay that I love being a mom, and I also love being an entrepreneur and having this business, and really, and just, working with my husband and about, what this actually looks like, what it looks like to take care of those identities, those parts of my identity. Right. And be able to, and also taking care of myself and my family at the same time. It's tough, but it's important. And I think after we had that kind of hard conversation, that idea that we had, I don't think that's gonna fly.
Yes. No, I had the exact same conversation as you. She's like, oh, I should be a stay-at-home mom. And like 4 or 5 months later, I was like, this is not gonna not gonna work. And I always say, I've always been aware, obviously, that I was a woman and I was going to have babies. So eventually I was going to be a mom, and I was going to be married by 25 and have 3 kids. I think that was my life story. or 4 kids. I always wanted 4. It's just, but I was going to be married by 25 and I would already have 4 kids. Then life happened, obviously. But like what I always say is, since I've been like 2 years old, I've been going to school and just learning my ABCs and 1, 2, 3s, because I was going to be a professional. And I went to middle school and then I went to high school, and I always written essays. What are you going to be when you grow up? Oh, I'm going to be this and I'm going to be that, and I'm going to be a writer and I'm going to be an actress and I'm going to be whatever. And it's just, obviously motherhood was there, but it was like, nobody asked me an essay. Well, what type of mother do you think you're going to be? Like, no, it's like, how will you use the internet for your future projects? Like, we're talking obviously because I graduated college many years ago. But everything was focused on being a professional. And so motherhood is something that is obviously an option, a very good option. And I was obviously going to be a mom, but I never really like looked into it, studied it, investigated. Nobody really gave me a class on motherhood. So home ed doesn't really like do the entire crash course in what you need to know. So obviously when you become a mom, it's so different from what you really didn't think about. But that's the worst thing. You can have expectations about what being a mother is. But then when motherhood is, you realize you really did not think you thought you understood, but you never really understood it. That's when the identity crisis comes in, because I mean, I was bred to be a professional at an office and have a schedule and take good notes and be able to pay attention and raise my hand and participate in meetings. I was bred for that. I was not bred to be a mom. I mean, I saw my mom be a mom, and it was like, oh, well, when I'm a mom, I'm going to do this and I'm not going to do that. And I obviously was the most critical child, like we all are. And then you become a parent, and it was like, Jesus, Mom, thank you for keeping me alive and feeding me and actually talking to me my entire life, because I was a brat. But you learn that afterwards. Yeah. So yes, I was just starting an essay the other day, and I was like, the title was I never knew that hitting that rock bottom was on the playroom floor. And that was the title of my essay, because I mean, I was literally like sitting on like these colorful like little squares. My daughter was playing, and then all of a sudden I look at myself in the mirror and I was like, oh my God, like, where did you go? Like, what am I going to do now? Is this life? And I was in shock.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I think so many people can relate to that. So many moms can relate to that. We really aren't taught like this is how to be a mom. And it's different for all of us, right?
Yes.
We're not taught this is what you're going to do to become a mom. It's almost like, well, if you're going to choose the mom route, then well, obviously you're just going to naturally know what to do. Like that's
yes.
So we've got to train you for the workforce. We've got to train you to go to middle school, to high school, to college, to whatever further career you want to do. But for motherhood, it's like, oh, good, you chose the motherhood path. Good, you're good to go. See ya. Have fun.
Yes, absolutely.
So,
yes.
Yeah, and then there really isn't talk about, and how were you going to take care of yourself as you were also taking care of tiny humans. So I think
absolutely tiny humans. Yes.
Oh my gosh. The work you're doing is so important because of all these things we've been talking about. Like we aren't taught that this is going to be this hard, because if we were told, like, if you choose the motherhood route, it's going to be really tough. There are going to be good seasons, there are going to be good days, but there are also going to be really hard seasons and really hard days. A lot of us, I mean, we all, those of us who have, dreamed about being moms since we were little, it might be like, well, I know their days are hard, but this is what I want. But I think a lot of us might take a second and go, if it's going to be that hard, is this really what I want? And so many of us are just kind of thrown in, and we're like, okay, so how do I manage all of this?
No, obviously. No, but it's like the marathon example. I mean, we sign up for so many things in life that we know are going to be challenging. But why do we do it? Because we know they're going to be amazingly gratifying. And motherhood does have that. It does have a sense of gratification that is completely unmeasurable, and it's absolutely amazing. And you just cannot put it into words or on a price on it. I mean, it is a huge, amazing experience, but you do have to be conscious about the obstacles that come with motherhood, just so that you're able to like catch them as they're happening and just say, okay, I knew that this was going to happen, or this was probably a possibility. So what do I do? How do I feel about it? Do I feel good? Do I feel bad? Okay, I don't feel like I want to be feeling. Okay, what can I do now? We can talk to someone. We can talk to a friend. You can talk to your mom. You can talk to a doctor. You can talk to a psychologist. You can write about it. You can go out for a walk. You can cry a little bit. Do whatever you have to do. I just, with Maria, we just don't want moms to feel that they're the only ones going through it. They're alone in this, that they're bad mothers because they're not having all the feelings that they want them to have, that they're bad moms to their kids because they eat Cheerios for dinner, the kids and the mom, because, or sometimes we're such great moms to our kids and we fix them the most amazing plates, and then we're eating the Halloween snack leftovers in the closet,
Yes.
like where nobody's watching. So let's just okay, if we're going to do so much effort to buy the fresh broccoli for the kid, make sure that you have broccoli on your own plate for it as well. So it's all about that. It's just keep the eye on the ball. You are part of the team as well. You are the team captain. We need the captain to be awake and alert and just feeling confident, because there's nobody wants a dubious pilot driving a plane. I mean, it's just that. So once you understand how important you are, how amazing you are, how everything you've gone through, because a lot of people they go through childbirth and then they read the book and they're like, oh my God, this is so true. This is how I felt, and this is what happened, and this is what I didn't even know how to put into words, because that's the beauty of writing. You help people process their own emotions by putting words on things. That's why I love to be a communication specialist. And once they see that, then they can feel that it's okay, and they can actually understand what they went through, and then just kind of let it go and just let it go, let it wash, you just let it wash over into a hard experience, but you will probably feel much better about yourself, because you're just oh my God, look what I just went through. Look at what I survived, and just feel good about yourself.
Yeah, everything's a season in life, including in motherhood. Nothing is going to it's always going to keep on changing, right?
Absolutely.
So being able to look back and going, man, I went through that. I got through that. And I think it's so empowering to hear you just remind moms too that there's always something that we can do about it. There's always something we can do. We can always get help. We can write about it. We can go for a walk. We can make sure the broccoli's on our plate too. There is something we can do about it. We don't have to feel like we're the only one, like we're just, this is just it. It's just going to be hard. There is something we can do with it. And going back to what you mentioned earlier with the Happy Mom study, it can just be one checkbox a week to start and then go from there, no matter what season of motherhood you're in. So there was one more thing that I wanted to touch on. I didn't want to skip over, because you talk about this in your book and you mentioned it a little bit. And that is this concept of, we can't talk about struggling in motherhood without talking about this idea of mom guilt and mom shame. And I know that this is something that we all feel, because I've been there. And I don't think there's a single mom in my mom's circle who hasn't been oh gosh, I feel so bad for X, Y, and Z. I feel so bad for not doing this for my kid, or I feel so bad for letting my kid do this, or I feel so bad because my kid, didn't do well on this test at school. And we feel like it's our fault. And we put all of this, I think, pressure on ourselves, and some of it's pressure from society too. So I know you talk about this in your book. So how does this affect us as moms, I guess? And how can we kind of start to work through this cycle of mom guilt and mom shame as we are, also working through taking care of ourselves in motherhood? How is this a way that we can take care of ourselves by kind of working through that?
I think that we are getting a little bit better with the sisterhood among moms that didn't exist before. I remember maybe 4 years ago, no, wait, when I was 8 years ago, I remember there was this video that went viral on YouTube. And it was just kind of like the teams of moms, the breastfeeding moms, the bottle feeding moms, the working moms, and the stay-at-home moms, the yoga, tree hugging moms versus the other type of moms. And it was just like, you know what, we're all in the same boat. We're all moms and we have to have our backs. And it was a very powerful video for me because I was breast pumping, purely breast pumping for my daughter. She was able to latch until a month old, and then she wasn't able to suck anymore. So I was bottle feeding her my breast milk, going through so much stress because she had her heart surgery at 3 months. I was going crazy, getting as much breast milk as I could out of my boobs, and I was crying, and it was like so painful, and it was just a horrible experience. But I just like was doing it as much as I could to give her breast milk because the doctor told me she's going to recuperate much faster if she has breast milk. So it was so much pressure that I was going through. And I saw that video, and I was exhausted. She was already 4 months, and I was so tired. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't continue to pump and then take care of her. I didn't have any help. I was alone with her. I can't do this anymore. What should I do? And a friend of mine comes up to me and she's like, you know what? The second that you realize that you're doing something in your motherhood that starts affecting your happiness in a negative way, that's the sign that you should stop. And that automatically like just kind of melted away the whole mom guilt and mom shaming of all like that I was feeling about the whole breastfeeding thing. And it was just like, you know what, that makes absolute sense. Yeah. And so I started to see that. And I do feel that maybe when our moms were moms, there was more of a general conversation. Maybe it was just like a little bit more, it wasn't so frowned upon to be like, oh, did you see so-and-so? She did this with her child and she's breastfeeding or she's not breastfeeding, or there was more talk. I think today moms are a little bit more conscious about what we should be talking, and that everybody has their own way. I do think that there's a little bit more conscious about, look, she's more about this. She's a Whole Foods mom. She's a Stop and Shop mom. It's okay. They're both good moms. There's a little bit more respect on that. The bad thing is that I do feel that the outer critic has now stepped inside ourselves, and we are monitoring ourselves so much more than before. And I think the reason is that we are so overly informed about everything that you can do to be a healthy mom, a Zen mom, an academic, strong mom, a tiger mom, whatever you want. Mm-hmm. And we have the book about how Federer and Nadal became the best tennis players. And we have Michael Jordan's book now. And we have all of these books that tell us specifically, like, oh, I want my kid to be successful. I just want him to be happy. I just want him to be intelligent. I just want him to you have so many parenting books that can tell you what you need to know to get to that level. Or I want him to be a whole brain child. I want him to be a holistic child. It's like the information is out there. We just don't have enough time, and we don't have enough energy to read everything. And so that's when we have to really, really, really tap into our motherly instinct and connect with ourselves and understand what we need and what our child needs in our home, and respect that. Because if you go on social media today, I swear to God, you're going to find so many moms. First of all, there's the mom with 1 or 2 kids, and then there's the mom with like 7 kids that amazingly they're all matching. They have the same haircut. They're all wearing beautiful clothes, and like something that I rarely manage to get with my 5 kids. They're all looking at the screen and smiling. That's amazing. You're going to find a lot of moms that are just, they look so beautiful and so perfect, and the filters are so amazing, and they're working their work, and everybody looks so shiny and perfect. And you really start feeling like you're not doing your work. You're failing. Why doesn't my kid ever show up with a clean t-shirt? I mean, my kids, I have my 4 and my 3-year-old, the concept of napkins is so hard right now. I mean, it's just they really need to clean, like wipe their little hands on their t-shirts every single time, and we keep on talking about it. And just like napkins are just they're just silly right now. They're just stupid. And it's like, please, no. So I'm never. I mean, it's really hard to get my kids in a clean shot. And then I don't have that much time to be like snapping pictures of my kid all the time. I mean, I don't know how a lot of moms do it. Do they have a professional like photographer running around their house while they're being a mom? I mean, I have to check the cell phone to see if I missed a play date, or somebody has to go to soccer, or maybe a doctor's appointment. I don't see myself throwing myself on the floor all the time, taking photographic pictures of my kids every single second. So we have to be careful of understanding that the overflow of information that we have as moms can be highly stressful. The overflow of the amount of brands that are targeting us as moms, because we are hot items for anybody who's trying to make money off of motherhood right now. And so just putting the word BPA free, non-toxic, and the safest crib in the market and stuff like that will make certain alarms shoot off in your head, because you're naturally built to keep your baby safe. And you're going to say, oh my God, I need the safest crib in the world. I need BPA free. And what am I not doing that is BPA free? It's like, and it starts to like really play around with your head and with your emotions. So motherly instinct, it's there, but it's going to be there 100% if you are 100% there with yourself. And that's why we wrote this book, just like first you, and then I swear to God, you're just going to know what your kid needs, and the amount that whatever he needs, and the rhythm that he should get it and you should get it, how much information you get into your house, into your head, into your kid's head. It's going to answer a lot of questions in a much more natural way. And for me, it's like one of the magical parts of motherhood. That instinct, it's real. It does happen, but you have to be connected with yourself.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that makes so much sense. As someone who has struggled with anxiety for my entire life, but didn't really recognize it until I was an adult, I recognize that when my anxiety is under control, when I am happy, when I am calm, when I'm feeling good, how much easier it is to tune into myself and to be more present. When I am, anxious or in this state of frenzy, it really is hard to be present and to connect with myself, to connect with, the moment, my family, what we're doing. Otherwise, I feel like I'm, running around in a million different places, whether it's in my brain or I'm physically running around in a million different places. Yes. So it makes so much sense that the more we connect with ourselves, the more that we can really be there and really be present and really tune into that motherly instinct, that intuition, and to make those decisions that are right for us and our family, instead of allowing all of those world judgments and those, world ideas to pile on. Instead, taking a step back and tuning in, but that requires that clarity and being clear and being calm and being centered. So, oh gosh,
absolutely.
So important. I love this so much. I could still talk to you for hours.
This has been an amazing interview. I had so much fun.
Oh my gosh, I've had so much fun too. So just to wrap it up, are there any last pieces of wisdom, maybe things we didn't cover, or just a message that you want to share for the mom who might be struggling in motherhood right now?
I've recently discovered that when you have 5 kids, a lot of people ask you for a lot of advice on health issues, eating, organization, and whatever. And my biggest advice as a mom of 5 is every time that I have gone through pregnancy and childbirth, it's been a roller coaster. It's not that it doesn't get easier. It does get easier in a lot of senses, but the amount of movement still happens, and especially hormonally. It's something that's out of control, and you have to take care of yourself the same way that you're taking care of the baby. This last time, my baby was 3 months old, and I was talking to my husband, because I felt a little bit pressured to do things a little bit right. And like in my home, he was like, "Oh, well, why isn't this done and that done and whatever?" And I picked up the baby and I showed it to him and I was like, look at this baby. You see how small he is? He's 3 months old. I'm exactly the same size as him right now. Like, understand. I mean, and he's gone through all the pregnancies with me, and he's the father of all my children. And you just I still had to remind him, you know what? Easy now. I mean, I'm still going through postpartum. No matter, I mean, obviously I have experience, but there is a certain delicacy to somebody who's gone through so much right now, and you have to respect it. And I just put my hand up, and he was like, "Okay, perfect, awesome." And it's just he shut up about if we had the dinner ready on time or not, which is fine. I mean, I understand you come home from your office and you want to have dinner with your kids at a certain time, but if it's not happening, it's because something else was happening. And let's just trust that mom's doing the best she can. So just try to manage that thought in your head as much as you can. It's not you. It's not the amount of kids. It's not because it's your first child. It does happen. And there's a lot of movement, and you have to be okay with yourself going through all the motions, basically. Permit yourself to go through all the motions, and it's absolutely worth it. It's absolutely natural. It's a natural process. It's okay. Everything's going to be okay. Just keep the eye on the ball that you're going to be a much better mom to any of your kids if you take care of yourself first.
Oh my gosh. Well, what encouragement to me that, it's even hard after 5 kids, because I'm like, I feel like I only have 2, but each season still feels hard, but it is,
Yeah.
it's just a different hard and a different season. And I love that idea that, if you've got a 3-month-old, you're also 3 months old in this season.
Absolutely.
So you also need to grow and to learn how to readjust and recalibrate, right, in every season. So, oh my gosh, Selmi, this was an amazing conversation. I have loved chatting with you. So where can my listeners connect with you and Maria Luisa and get your book?
We're on Amazon. We have it on Audible. We have it on Kindle. You can buy the physical copy and take notes and highlight it and send it to your friends or whatever, baby shower gifts. You can do whatever you want with it. We did every single version of the book because it's not about making money. It's about getting this out there and helping as much moms as we could. And then we have our Instagram page at Happy Mom Book. And yeah, that's it. I mean, we just want as much moms as we can to get their hands on it. I mean, we haven't had one person read this book and not tell us that they were so grateful to read everything. The best description that I heard, I think it was from a blurb that Zibby Owens said, actually. It's just like it's like sitting down for coffee with 2 really smart friends that have done their research on the subject of what goes on through motherhood. And then Mel Robbins also commented, it's a must-read book for anybody that wants to really reconnect with what they need out of life. And it's just, it's been so amazing to hear so many good things about the book. So yeah, they can find us on Amazon, Happy Mom, Happy Kid, and then on Instagram at Happy Mom Book.
Awesome. Okay. Well, we will put all of those links in the show notes. I'm sure my listeners are going to be running to get your book. And we will definitely be chatting about it in the Healthy Balance Mamas Facebook community as well. So thank you again so much for taking time out of your busy day to chat with me. This was so great.
Thank you. It was great. I had a blast.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Healthy Balance Mama podcast. If you loved it, would you take a screenshot and share it with a friend over on Instagram and tag me in it? It helps me so much to know what you love and are taking away from each episode. If you really loved it, would you hop over to iTunes and give me a star rating and review? Every rating and review helps this podcast be seen and heard by more women who need to hear the message of balance and wellness without deprivation. It's the best free gift you could give me. And as a reminder, the information and opinions on this podcast are meant for education and inspiration only and are not to be taken as medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Please consult with a trusted practitioner before making any changes. Have a beautiful day, friend, and I'll see you in the next episode.